Gvazava. Hi. Welcome to our second season of our Liberland in Georgia podcast. My name is Sam, and I'm the representative of Liberland to Georgia. The second season is dedicated to the business perspective of Georgia, of the country. Why do I want to cover it? Because Georgia is a lot on rise. Many people get interested into it, and I don't want you to miss out anything important. Today, I invited George. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
And before we will get to all those projects that he is involved in and all his impact that he had on the country, I would love to thank to the Franklin Club where we are shooting today. If you don't know Franklin Club, so it's a liberal think tank focused on the economic and political education. Thank you so much for everything you do. Keep going. Thank you so much again, George. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, actually, really. A little bit cold outside, but it's still good weather.
Yeah, well, it's Georgia. It has amazing weather all year round, I would say.
Yeah. We have all 4 seasons, and unfortunately, this season snow was a little bit late, but now we have a great snow to ski in the different mountains of Georgia. So I invite everyone.
Amazing. So our touristic part is over. If you want to visit skiing in Georgia, you can definitely do so. Yeah. What are all the projects that you are currently involved in? Because you just started a new cooperation as well.
Yeah, I just started a new corporate job. I've recently become the chief crypto officer of Bank of Georgia, the largest universal bank in Georgia, which serves more than 2.5 million clients locally and also internationally. Before that, my kind of road to crypto and blockchain was quite interesting, I think. I actually started in Deloitte, one of the largest Big 4 companies. I was a financial auditor, then I moved to project management and financial analysis for World Bank finance projects in Georgia. Then I became an investment banker in Galton Taggart, which actually is a subsidiary of Bank of Georgia, the company I'm currently working in. And then I was approached by very successful Georgian individuals who were investing in crypto and blockchain startups, and I moved to Cryptex Group, which had a different name back then, as a chief financial officer. So we basically built everything from scratch. It was, and I've been there for more than 3 years, 3.5 years, and we've actually kind of made our mark on crypto and blockchain ecosystem in Georgia, which we are very proud of, and not only in Georgia but also on a regional, from a regional perspective as well. And just recently, I was approached by Bank of Georgia about a potential opportunity in the new direction. And Bank of Georgia is basically an innovator in lots of financial products, and it was just a matter of time they would pay more and more attention towards crypto and blockchain. And as we see global big banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citi, and others having specific dedicated crypto teams and blockchain teams, it was just a matter of time. Bank of Georgia would also step into that direction, and I'm happy that I was chosen to lead this direction. And there are actually lots of things to come, but one thing that I can say is, based on the current regulations and what National Bank of Georgia obviously will permit us, we would like to make Bank of Georgia a crypto-friendly bank, which means that we'll be working both individuals, corporations, and other stakeholders in the crypto space to actually help them, first of all, get the banking that they need, because still, even after so many years, still crypto to fiat and fiat to crypto through banks are still quite a hard task to do. So we want, first of all, to make that more easier, seamless, and less frictions, so to say. But at the same time, the companies, and especially crypto companies who would like to establish their bases or establish their regional offices in Georgia, because Georgia is actually very well positioned to serve them part of Europe and part of Asian markets, and we see already lots of crypto companies actually coming, establishing, and first of all bringing their teams, but also recruiting local teams to service different regions. We want to be the bank of choice for them, to be honest, and our innovative approach towards banking products positions us extremely well to be a servicing bank for crypto companies. But at the same time, obviously, all the traditional businesses that are coming, Bank of Georgia is happy to service them.
Oh yeah, I'm like, this is not the advertising for Bank of Georgia,
Obviously.
but I am using it too, and
nice.
I'm very happy with it. And I would say that it's already been crypto friendly, honestly, like compared to some other countries. So that like, being a normal, legit person, I don't have any problems. Just normal like things to do.
Nice.
So like I would say that Georgia in general is very crypto friendly, and it only shows how the country is progressive and open-minded and like ready to implement new things. So I would say that Georgia is like even like innovative in many terms. Like, and one of that might be that it's actually a small country that is more flexible. There's low bureaucracy and so on. So this makes the things just easier. The legislation is like simple to read. Like you can read it in 5 different languages on the official websites. It's like,
exactly.
Wow. Maybe can you be more particular, like when you say that it would be even like more crypto friendly?
Mm-hmm. Do you mean on the country level or on the Bank of Georgia level? I can actually talk about both. To
that
be honest.
Would be perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, I think many people are interested in it because it's unusual.
Yeah, I think lots of viewers would not know, but Public Registry of Georgia was one of the first one to utilize blockchain for their records, and it happened in 2015. And then there was obviously Bitfury, which had a big regional operations here, mining Bitcoin, which actually had both advantages and disadvantages, and people were split between the two because obviously it consumed lots of energy, but at the same time it was creating value for the economy as a whole. Georgia's legislation currently is quite simple in terms of crypto and blockchain, and there have been some moves to kind of have the rules of the game, to be honest, which I think is a good thing, because just like it was in the US before and Europe, when crypto started to be used more and more, and when the legislation was lagging behind, it became a place where scammers were easily, they penetrated the space easily, and it was bad for crypto. Lots of Bitcoin maximalists and lots of crypto maximalists always say that we need zero regulation because it's the regulations always create some kind of friction, which is bad. I am not a Bitcoin maximalist myself, even though I support Bitcoin itself as an idea, as a cryptocurrency, and as a cryptocurrency of the internet of future. But sometimes, and I have friends who are Bitcoin maximalists, that's why I can speak openly about this. Sometimes they fail to see what their ideas might bring. It will bring anarchy in most of the cases, how they see it. And that's why I say that a proper regulation, and the regulations that is created by the people who do not want to restrict something but to enable, so with the enabling in mind but not the restriction, is a good regulation. And I believe that Georgia is going in that direction, that we'll see. We already have some regulations that actually started from 1st of January 2023, but the bigger rules of the game will be known from 1st of July. But even after that, there are some ideas how crypto should be regulated, how crypto and blockchain should be regulated. And I believe that if we do not directly copy and paste other countries' examples, and if we kind of make the relevant modifications in the context of Georgia, in the context of Georgia becoming a fintech hub, becoming a crypto and blockchain hub, I think that we'll get the regulations that is needed, that is progressive, first of all, and the writers of which would have enablement in mind, not restrictions. That's a very like a key word that I want to differentiate to is when we talk about regulation, it should be enabling, so to say. And
Very
for
well
example,
said.
CBDCs, Central Bank Digital Commerce and Digital Lari project that National Bank of Georgia is working like for the last 2 years, but they are moving to the new phase now. CBDC is also, as they say, as they tell the stakeholders, with enablement in mind. So it will be kind of a place where different private companies can like license service providers, as they call it in the draft legislation or draft ideas, will be able to utilize the technology to offer different kinds of services to the masses. In my opinion, I personally, it depends how the CBDC is designed generally, because CBDC is very strong tool if it is directly controlled by governments in a lot of cases. So it depends on how the CBDCs will be approached. If CBDCs will not be properly designed, and if people will have some kind of doubts, it will not be adopted.
Yeah.
So
this is what's already happening in the countries that already adopted it. So like less than 1% people are using it because they don't trust it, and it's like they are afraid. And I understand that like it would lose their freedoms and they would be controlled. So
there's a big brother watching.
It's to me it's frightening. It's like 1984, but like it's not the point of like blockchain. To the contrary, the idea was like to decentralize, to get the power out of the hands of one person or one entity. Well, we'll see how this goes. I really liked your perspective of like Georgian legislation in terms of enabling. I have never been thinking about it, and it's actually true. Like we were discussing this with one of the previous guests, Ilya, who's a tax advisor, and he was mentioning that when the Georgian taxation is changing, so it's actually just to provide clarification so that people would understand what are the rules of the game. Yeah. And this is actually very interesting because the trend of many countries is more oppressive rather, so that when the legislation is changing, which is pretty often in Western countries, so it's like, just slowly closing the doors actually. So Georgia really provides rather the clarification, and in this case, in crypto-related case, I would agree that it's better to have a clear legislation in place that says, all right, like crypto trading or whatever these exchanges from crypto to fiat 0% taxation, having this written in the law is better than having legislation, because what was happening in some European countries that didn't have any legislation for it is that then the governments were like, oh, we don't have money. Oh, let's tax it at 30%, And because they have like retrospective power to do so, so like many people were like, wait, this is a scam from the government. So like this, again, like having, this is a very interesting thought that like having a legislation, despite me being a libertarian, so I'm like, but this is a very interesting thought. And if you want to play the game in the international field and while being recognized as like, or having a good reputation, which Georgia is trying to have, I would say, and it makes sense because it has a very secure environment from the fintech industry, very secured and like high quality banking. I mean, it's just working. It's just doing what it's supposed to do. It's like very good. Like you have to play the game to be recognized and not to be like cut off from the network, especially in the banking on the international level. So this is a very, very interesting point. Thank you so much for pointing this out. Because there were, as you mentioned also, like some projects move to the country. Binance just opened their representative offices here, which is really cool. Like it's a small country. Like Georgia has 3.5 million people. If you mention the Bank of Georgia is serving 2.5 million people. Wow. And providing all this in the context, what do you see like will be the close future? Like, how do you see still like what particular changes, like except for the CBDC, might take place? Like, do you find it like also optimistic? Like the feeling of yours from the governmental and banking perspective?
Yeah, so to roll back a little bit to how Georgia is currently where it is, how we came here. There was a great project called GITA, which is still there, Georgia Innovation Technology Agency. And if you think and if you look and if you go back to how we are startups pitching 8 years ago, and how a startup pitching now, you will see a huge difference. And the quality has been increasing and increasing and increasing. And that did not happen by chance. That happened by bringing very experienced international talent, international investors, ex-entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, there are no ex-entrepreneurs, maybe, entrepreneurs who had
retired
entrepreneurs. Retired who have huge successes, who've seen they've done it with their own hands. They made their hands dirty. They came and they mentoring Georgian young founders. And that was a major change in the Georgian ecosystem. And this ecosystem is growing, startup ecosystem is growing, which is great. Then happened 500 startups, which also came to Georgia, which is one of the most successful accelerators globally. And they partnered with Bank of Georgia and Georgia Innovation Technology Agency. And, they've recently actually opened their 20 million fund for local startups. Not actually local startups only, but the startups who are ready who are foreign startups, but are ready to establish in Georgia and have their operations mostly from Georgia. And this first starting from GITA and then bringing such a major power as 500 startups to Georgia actually made Georgia visible to the startup community, to the tech community. And that itself played a vital role in promoting Georgia as a hub for potential innovations. Why I say potential? Because the innovation that we currently have is not much. So we want to have more products that are global, more products that are born here but are serving global talent. And when I say, when we say that Georgia has 3.5 million people, yes, it's a small country, but at the same time we can be flexible. Obviously, we have major geopolitical issues. Russia being the neighbor in the north, which itself creates lots of tension, right? And like Georgia made a lot of mistakes in the relations with Russia because we trusted them. Unfortunately, we did not learn from our mistakes, And I don't want to go into politics, but that's true. If you see Georgia's history, if you think and if you see like how many times we trusted Russia and how many times they lied and they occupied us, they abolished our monarchy and so on. Still the threat remains, but the threat might remain there for a long time. And that threat should not restrict us from innovation, because when we innovate and when we make our country better, our GDP per capita better, our other macroeconomic indicators better, our people living better, then I think that's the way we return our territories as well. Abkhazia and South Ossetia, or as we call it, Samachablo, the Georgian name is actually Samachablo.
Yeah.
There's no thing as South Ossetia, to be honest. So when these people see that, it's better with Georgia because they're innovating, because they have a better economy, because they are internationally recognized, because I can found my own startup there and serve globally. So all this is a major thing, and all this is what can make Georgia special. At the same time, as we saw, just during Corona, lots of digital nomads visited Georgia. Why? Because they believed and they saw that there was a beautiful country, good food, not very high cost of living, and good internet. I think that's a unique recipe which makes Georgia a perfect place for digital nomads as well.
Yeah. I personally, I create a lot of content related to remote work on LinkedIn, and Georgia is one of the best countries in the world where you can live a good life under $1,000 a month, despite now the rent prices rose a bit, but they actually rose everywhere in the world, just by the way, because after COVID, after 2 years of countries being closed, well, no surprise, everywhere. It's really happening everywhere, so there's nothing else. But as you mentioned very well, so Georgia attracts digital nomads, but I think, this thing, people who are trusting others and are caring and are kind and very welcoming, plus amazing nature, food, and cost of living, or rather just the value of price versus what you get for it in return, and the territory. Everything is amazing. Local products. I could be here for long. I really like the country. That's why I'm here. But I think that the next step is actually when you already experience living here and you start understanding that, there are, favorable taxation statuses, it's low bureaucratic, you can open your bank account in a few minutes. It's okay. It takes some time, but it's not days. In Europe, it's days. You wait for your details to get a bank account in one currency in, let's say, Prague, and here, you already get a card even on demand. Just you can already get one without your name, or on the next day you get one with your name.
Or you get a digital card directly from the mobile bank.
Yeah, sure, of course. And so it's, and the banking system, it's again, it's very secure, but it's just really working. The app of, again, Bank of Georgia, they should pay us for this, but it's just so advanced. I mean, it's just really doing what it's supposed to do, I would say. But the UX is good, and it has everything it needs to have. And again, you need a new digital card, pop, done. Which is something that is normal in Europe, with Revolut. But Revolut, I don't like it because they started becoming crazy with regulations. I mean, Revolut became a bank, and I was asked just during 1 year 4 times for a KYC. A KYC means I should provide again my residency. Did it change? What's your passport? How's your passport? Does it still look the same? And what are you doing for work? I was oh my God.
But I have to be fair about that. Revolut did not want to do that. Revolut was told probably by the regulator that they had to do that, and that's it. So they basically, if you think about it, private companies, companies who are whose major concern is to earn profit, they would not want to require something. They would not want to create artificial friction. But sometimes they are required to. So yes, at the same time, if it was due to your KYC not being done properly in the first place, then it's their problem. But if it was done because they were required to do so, then it's fairness dictates me to state that, but I agree with that, because this kind of thing actually happens with when you have crypto transactions and stuff like that.
This wasn't because of a crypto transaction. Okay. This is actually the funny thing. So like I was blocked my account and my transactions several times by them, and the funniest experience was when they blocked my €4 transaction when I was sending a fee to the governmental office. I was laughing. I was really laughing. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. And but again, like I understand this, that from the international regulatory field, if you want to be recognized and if you don't want the other countries to cut you off, and Georgia is building a great reputation, so it's really fulfilling and it's understandable. Like its details, they're already asking for KYC when you go to to open the bank account. Yet you don't have to be a resident to open the bank account here in the country, which is really cool. Because I think one of the best things you can do is just to diversify your bank accounts into different countries. Especially I travel a lot, so to me it's the basics. Like I don't want to have one bank account in one country because it doesn't make sense. If I travel somewhere and they're like, oh, we think that it's a fraud, I'm like, no, I'm just traveling a lot, so I need you to enable my money. And it's happening, so that then countries block you because they are, oh, that might be a scam. I'm like, no, I just need my money. And then when you don't have any other bank account, so you're done. So yeah, like opening a bank account in Georgia, it's definitely a good thing. And of course, like moving here, that's another thing. But yeah, like getting back to the real conditions, it's like again, you can when you go and live here, you can open the bank account easily. You can start your company easily. You can start entrepreneurship easily. So it's a very favorable place to be at. How do you perceive it as a Georgian? Like this is actually an interesting maybe perspective. You can feel free like to cover what you feel like, but like because there are pretty much a lot of foreigners from different countries. Like how do you perceive this on the maybe like on the business level? Like because Georgians speak English a lot, so this is very convenient for us. Like I can say it as the expat living here, but like how do you see it? Like so Georgians are open-minded, but like getting this international whatever.
So actually it depends. It depends on the region, it depends on the age and so on. Generally younger people are more open-minded, and people who live in megapolises are basically more open-minded because they see foreigners more. But I would not blame older people, for example, that they might not be that open-minded, or either they might have some problems or stuff like that. Because if you think about it, Georgia was under Russian occupation, like Soviet Union, from 1921 to 1991, so 70 years. So people who were, and before then obviously 117 years, from 1801 to 1918. So in the last 200 years, up to 1991, Georgia had independence in only 3 years. That meant that lots of, we became a closed country, closed nation, and we only had exchange communication with people from other Soviet Union countries. So that basically made people, less open-minded, obviously. And when we became independent, we needed to learn how to live independently. And some older people were not prepared for independence, to be honest. They might, blame me for what I'm saying now, but that's my view. I was born in 1993 in independent Georgia, and I think that my mind is much more independent.
Yeah.
And when your mind is independent, you are also prepared to make your country more independent. And there is not a single country, in my perception, that is independent, that is against friendly travel, that is against immigrants and so on. Why? Because when we talk about foreigners coming to Georgia, they don't only come here to just live and consume our resources. They are also coming here and making Georgia more diverse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And when someone comes to your country because you've made your country, better, it's, I think, silly to restrict them and to be against them. So I
Many
think
countries do it,
yeah, but still, obviously, I'm not talking about people who come to steal or people who come to commit crime, right? But when there is a lot of migration, this happens naturally, and if this is controlled, first of all, if it is prevented, and if it's not prevented, then detected, and by law enforcement, the answer is kind of adequate, then I think Georgia will, become more and more successful, because when you have this kind of geopolitical situation, coupled with people not being that tech friendly and not being very open to new. I'm not talking about the younger generation. I'm talking about a little bit older generation. Then you are kind of doomed. So you have to somehow create. You have to somehow bring foreign expertise, learn from it, and adapt. So I would think I understand your point about there are lots of maybe communities or some age groups that like special type of tourists and not other type of tourists. But that will I think come with time. That again,
it's
we
changing.
are early in independence still.
But still it's fascinating, because I find Georgia very, very welcoming still there. So that's very...
That's our, how would say, historically we've been like that, but historically we've been hospitable mostly towards other Soviet nations, because Soviet Union did not have foreign visitors.
I see. Of course.
If some foreign visitor came, there were at least 3 or 4 agents who were always moving with them, to understand what were they doing. It's just like North Korea, North Korea. You can go to North Korea, but you will have to obey to certain rules, and you will be watched all the time probably. I've been to South Korea. I've actually studied to South Korea.
Wow.
I've in binoculars I've looked at the North Korean side. Wow. I've never had desire to enter.
That makes sense. Well, fortunately, Georgia, to me, Georgia is one of the freest countries I've experienced. The way I feel here. So I'm I can breathe. The same is for the business. It's really you don't have to overthink, maybe I want to do it. I will rather, hire a lawyer or someone because it would be too bureaucratic. But this is not the case here. But yet, it provides a clear guidance, which is it's just, it's it's not a painkiller. It's just, it's not a headache. It's to the contrary. Sorry. And as you mentioned, I would say that I would actually add that Georgia is one of the safest countries in the world as well.
Oh, yeah, and that's proved by the international statistics as well. That crime per resident is very, very low.
Yeah.
And plus, our local patrols, like police, are not corrupt.
Yeah.
Which means that you can actually find justice.
This is actually interesting. I feel that Georgia, if the desire to be against the post-Soviet past, just to get rid of it so badly, so that we want to start from scratch. I feel it and everything that is being done here, corruption. No, just don't. No, no way. And this is very interesting, because it must have been too bad to maybe just to totally flip the coin to the other side. So it's very free and very, very pleasant experience. All right, thank you so much. I think that's it for our today's interview.
Nice.
It was
Thank
a
you
very
much.
interesting perspective. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions and your experience, especially. And you made me, like very positive again about Georgia close future. I hope that it will be just rising, and we'll be happy also to see some newcomers in the country.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. It was a really interesting talk, and thank you for promoting Georgia at an international level. I really appreciate it. As a Georgian, as a single Georgian, I really appreciate it, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions related to the country or to the banking system or to the crypto and banking, well, in that case, I will link George's LinkedIn profile to the description, so feel free to contact him. And also, I guess that he would be helpful maybe in some fintech, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's the guy for that. And I will be looking forward to see you at another episode. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.